Stop goofing around. We're in a class.
Hello, my creative friends. I'm Sonia and I'm so happy to see you on my channel. I decided to make a short demo of my animation process, of how I am approaching the short animation scene. Every animation artist has their own animation process, and like today I will show you how I animate, how do I create the animation scene. I hope that it will be interesting for you. First, I will just quickly tell you the story behind this animation short. Last winter, my class organized Secret Santa, so we just assigned to different classmates and we had to secretly make presents for them. And I got Wilson and I was so happy because my classmate Wilson is a musician. So at first I just wanted to make him play the guitar, but then when I started to animate, the story expanded more and more till the point where it was already just a little joke with a beginning, punchline and the end. So like a normal joke structure. So you see, first here comes an idea. Wilson playing little ukulele and we see him just sitting in the scene, playing to the audience as we think at first. And then it turns out that the whole time he was just taking online classes and playing while the break. Then here goes gathering of references. I know Wilson is very creepy, because I literally had a separate folder called Wilson where I had your photos. I wanted to make this little animation very personal, so I just tried to gather all these little details. So then there was character design. I just made a few character sketches and I just immediately started to begin to animate. So first I made just a little sketch in TV Paint to see if my idea works. I just exported my scene as a bunch of PNG files so I could continue working on them in my iPad. So first I drew the keys based on the rough animation I made in TV Paint. And the keys basically are main drawings of the animated scene. And only when you draw the keys, you can start to add more drawings like breakdowns, extremes and stuff. And only after you draw all the stuff, you can start making in-betweens. After the rough animation and drawing out all the keys, breakdowns and extremes, I pass to tie down. Tie down means drawing more precise frames of your animation. For me, it's very, very important that the character stays in model during the whole scene, because if the character type changes over the scene, it seems unprofessional for me. So after tie down, after like drawing out all the frames correctly, I passed to clean. And clean was very difficult because Wilson's shoes were very detailed, so I had to make a special trick. I didn't draw over all the shoes in the beginning of the scene because basically the shoes just stand in place. It might be a held cell, but when you make part of your drawing a held cell and while all the rest of the drawing is moving, it looks very strange and unpleasant. So I decided to make a loop. I cleaned only 10 frames of Wilson's shoes, because the more frames you have in your loop, the less noticeable it is. And my main goal was to make the audience think that I cleaned up every single frame. For example, if you make a loop out of only 3 frames, people will immediately see it. I don't think that if I drew every single shoe on every single frame, it would make my animation better. Of course not. So cheating sometimes is okay. After I cleaned up the animation, I realized that I had to draw a background. Even though the background appears just in the end of the scene, it takes only about 3 or 4 seconds of animation. So I decided to paint the background, also using Procreate. The main problem with this background was that I already had a drawing of the main character. I had to fit the perspective of my background to the perspective of the character. So it was just a big process going on. Of course, I didn't know how Wilson's apartment looked like, so I decided to make this background based on my personal Paris apartment. Basically, you just can see what my room looks like. And I also try to make this background look very warm and cozy. Even prior to going to compositing of the piece, I thought about it in my background. So I added another layer imitating the dust floating around in the sun rays. So later, when I went to compositing, I just could move this and it emphasized the feeling of a 3D space. After cleaning my animation, I passed to color, and in TV Paint 11 professional version there is like a very handy tool. There are color layers and you can just make a little stroke and the computer immediately fills the space by himself even without your help. So it was very easy for me to color all the animation. And then there was like shadows, and yeah, I know that I made shadows in this work in not a very professional way, because professionals usually first make another animation layer, just figuring out where all the edges of shadows are, so they are basically animating the edges of the shadows, and I just made the shadows straight ahead. After painting the shadows, I also painted the lights so that the character could fit into the background, because as you can see in the beginning of the scene there is one lighting source and in the end of the scene there is another lighting source. I also added some like color board around the character. Looked like the character set in Contrajour. After I painted all the stuff and animated everything in TV Paint, I passed to After Effects, and right now I will just show you how I approach working with 3D layers. I thought about my layers being 3D already on stage of drawing my background. So first of all, I just made the table with computer, the chair on which the character sits, and like all the rest of the background, different layers, and I just put all these layers into the composition, turn them into 3D, turn on the second project window where I can see these layers from kind of the top. Then I could just move these layers into the space. And then I just create a camera, make a little match cut, so the camera goes closer to the character, and it really looks like a 3D space. So that's the whole trick. Yeah, now to the most important part, to the sound. Because when I finished the piece, I was so proud of it that I sent it to Wilson and asked him if he would make a voiceover for it. And he made an amazing job. I will put all the links to his social media, Instagram and his music Instagram, like down below in the description, so you can check him out. The sound and the animation work perfectly together.
Stop goofing around, we're in the class.
That's what I like about working in animation, because this process is highly collaborative and it allows you to work with a lot of people. That's all what I wanted to tell you about my animation process. Hope you liked it or found it useful. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel not to miss my next videos. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye!